Phoenix in motion or get involved in improving your community. Take on today and every day. Learn how at aarp.org/Phoenix.
I'm Susan Linkus of the Linkus Group, a fee-based registered investment advisor specializing in financial planning, investment management, insurance strategies, and more. LinkusGroup.com, investing for life.
From the Cronkite Studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
A migrant caravan is headed toward the United States-Mexico border as the controversy grows on immigrant rights and national policy.
Meanwhile, migrants already in the valley are seeking refuge in churches as officials seek the resources to care for them.
All this as President Trump is threatening to pull U.S. aid from the countries these migrants are fleeing.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Jake Trybulski.
And I'm Ashley Mackey. Thank you for joining us.
The immigration controversy continues to grow as a caravan of migrants from Central America has now crossed from Guatemala into Mexico, heading toward the U.S.
Men, women, and children say they are fleeing areas consumed by poverty and violence to find opportunities in America.
The caravan consists of thousands of Central Americans, with numbers topping 7,000 altogether, all of whom are hoping to find jobs and a better life here.
Mexican officials have been overwhelmed with asylum requests and have even turned to the United Nations Commissioner for Refugees to help the process. Thousands of migrants have even turned back home.
Meanwhile, President Donald Trump says migrants who do not seek asylum in Mexico will not be allowed in the U.S.
Trump also tweeted his intention to punish the Central American countries the migrants are fleeing.
The tweet read, "Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador were not able to do the job of stopping people from leaving their country and coming illegally to the U.S. We will now be cutting off or substantially reducing the massive foreign aid routinely given to them."
The president also says he will do what it takes to prevent the migrants from entering the United States.
I will seal off the border before they come into this country, and I'll bring out our military, not our reserves. I'll bring out our military.
And while the president is talking tough on border security, immigration authorities in Arizona have been releasing hundreds of undocumented migrants in different cities across the state.
Cronkite News reporter Abdel Jimenez was there over the weekend as one group arrived in Gilbert.
I spoke with local faith leaders who have been helping out migrant families since they started arriving. Many of these families are risking their lives coming to the United States despite the many challenges they face getting here. Volunteers cheered as hundreds of undocumented immigrants got off several buses in this church parking lot Sunday. But the warm welcome doesn't change the reality these migrants are now facing. Even small children forced to wear tracking ankle monitors. Elvis is from Guatemala and crossed into the U.S. with his 9-year-old son.
We came in a van, which didn't have a lot of air. It was also very hot. I feared that my son was going to suffocate.
Like Elvis, all of these migrants arrived in the United States seeking asylum. They say after escaping poverty and violence back home. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has been releasing waves of them in recent weeks, many times under the care of organizations like the Arizona Korean Seventh-day Adventist Church in Gilbert. Here, the migrants get donated clothing, food, and a place to stay until they continue their journey. All of it is run by volunteers who say they're overwhelmed.
We need more help. We need more churches that can open the door, and so we can bring more people there. We have doctors here, we have nurses here. Right now, we're working with about 10 churches, and we already receive about 500 people. 500 people. Children with parents. One
of those is Elvis, who from Arizona is now heading to New Jersey. He says looking for a better future for his family.
We are poor people. We don't have our own home. There aren't a lot of job opportunities, and we don't have money to open up a business. I came here to find a dream in order to go back to my home country with sufficient funds to open up my own business.
As to why these immigrants are currently being let go, I said in an email statement that due to the increase in families crossing the borders, they can't guarantee they won't violate the Flores Agreement, which requires the government to release children detained in detention centers without unnecessary delay. Live in downtown Phoenix, Abdel Jimenez, Cronkite News.
President Trump also addressed the issue of immigration directly while he was here in Arizona on Friday. Trump spoke at a Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport hangar, once again calling for tighter security along the border. He wants to keep migrants out of the country and says the Democrats will not stop him from securing the border.
They don't want us to have the wall, even though they know it's the right thing. They will fight to the death because they don't want us to have the wall, but we've started the wall anyway, and we're going to get that done.
Immigration just was one of the many issues President Donald Trump spoke about during his Make America Great Again rally on Friday. Reporter Gabriela Becerra was at the Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport and tells us who President Trump wants Arizonans to vote for.
President Donald Trump has a focus on keeping Arizona a red state, and he made that clear by endorsing multiple Republican candidates on Friday. He spoke about issues such as immigration, health care, and others that he says could be affected if the Democratic Party wins in the upcoming midterm election.
Everything we do, they can destroy very quickly if the wrong people get into office.
President Donald Trump endorsed Republican Senate candidate Martha McSally at his Make America Great Again rally.
Your vote in this election will decide which party controls Congress. And I will tell you, they're all talking about Arizona, and they're talking about Martha McSally.
He says McSally is a courageous fighter and the person Arizona needs in Washington.
It will be the second greatest vote you ever cast. The first greatest vote was for me.
McSally joined Trump on stage to talk about her campaign and her take on immigration.
This is personal for us in Arizona. We have to crack down on sanctuary cities, MS-13 gangs, build the wall, and secure the border. So there's so much at stake.
Trump also endorsed incumbent gubernatorial Republican candidate Doug Ducey.
We have a great Republican slate, House and Senate and our legislative races. But I want to level with you. We can't do this without you.
Ducey helped welcome Trump to Arizona and stands by Trump's desire to keep Arizona a red state.
Under Republican leadership, America is booming, America is thriving, and America is winning because we are finally putting America first.
In response, Kyrsten Sinema's campaign launched a coalition, Republicans for Sinema, and released the following statement. Arizonans don't care if you have an R or D next to your name. We care about getting things done. My approach has always been to work across the aisle to solve problems and deliver results for Arizonans, and that's what I'll continue to do as U.S. Senator. Arizonans deserve a senator who isn't distracted by partisan games and who is focused on fighting for them. As Arizona's next senator, I'll be an independent voice for all Arizonans. Early voting in Arizona has already begun. On both sides, Republican and Democratic Party leaders are encouraging everyone to get out and vote. In downtown Phoenix, Gabriela Becerra, Cronkite News.
Supporters showed up in droves to the president's rally on Monday. Sammy Giebers was reporting from the outside of the International Air Response hangar in Mesa.
I spoke to supporters who were there, many as early as 9 a.m. for the evening rally. They told me they liked the direction the nation is heading. Now, there were a few protesters there as well who would disagree. We talked to both sides on why they decided to come out. Thousands of people showed up to President Trump's rally, among them Butch Dukeman.
Hey, there's these nice gals.
A top issue for him, immigration. He supports the president's wall and thinks Trump is pushing the country in the right direction. Many in the crowd would agree. Dukeman, like so many others, waited in the heat. For many, nothing but a red Make America Great Again hat to block out the sun.
I said you would be back.
Charlotte Gamble has been out here since 9:30 a.m. and wasn't let in until 2:30 in the afternoon. She's worried about the country turning socialist. She's a mom and thinks the president is making the country safer for her children. Protesters were hard to find during the afternoon, but supporters were plenty, and many told us they even made friends in line. This is Desi Brousseau. She came up to Mesa from Tucson by herself. She's a millennial, but she says she's not a typical one. She says those surrounding her are much more in line with her views.
So we heard from people waiting in line for the rally. Now, let's see what the other side has to say.
While thousands showed up in support of Trump, only a few dozen protesters lined up against them. But this this is where the crowd was at its loudest. This is Kirk Linden. He called the president a dangerous fool.
No, actually, I'm not.
He describes the rally as cult-like.
Good for you, so
Bikers for Trump, they would disagree. Rose Myth says that if she didn't come down here today, she would be tossing and turning at night. She believes the country is in ruins and says the nation deserves a president who respects women. Her sign, you can't fix stupid, but you can vote it out. Alec Bradshaw is a student. He said he should be studying right now and he's missing hours as a server, but he's out here with protesters. He thinks the president, quote, isn't doing a thing for students like him. The man next to him is Chad Ness. He says he's out here because of the amount of corruption he believes is happening in this administration. When he described the president, the word he used was liar.
I also spoke with supporters after the rally who said they found President Trump's speech inspiring. Even though there were heated conversations between the two sides, Mesa police confirmed no one was arrested. In the broadcast center, Sammy Giebers, Cronkite News.
Arizona Senator Jeff Flake spoke out about the commander-in-chief in New York this morning, calling on Republicans to call out the president when necessary. Flake spoke as part of a day-long political forum called Citizen by CNN. Flake referenced the way President Trump speaks about journalists and his reactions when the leaders of other countries speak about the media. He also says as senators and members of Congress, they should not be optimistic about the effect of words.
I wish that people would speak up more. You can't, I mean, if we were asked and if we answered every call to condemn every tweet, you know, that takes all the time and you can't expect that. But when the president does something big, you know, when he applauds somebody for beating up a journalist, for being actually convicted or pleading guilty to assault on a journalist and celebrating that, that's something that we ought to speak up on. Say, no, that's not right. That doesn't represent our party. That doesn't represent us as Americans. That's just not right.
Senator Flake also says he believes it is their responsibility to follow their conscience and philosophy.
What started as a Scottsdale Middle School science project is now in the national spotlight.
Coming up on Cronkite News, we talk to a local whiz kid whose school project could help those in need across the country.
Plus, women making their mark on a trade traditionally dominated by men, how these welding women are finding success.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles.
In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
Welding is the binding of metal with the use of a hot flame. It is also a career field usually geared towards men. Reporter Tanaya Williamson met with a few women who are heating up the industry, thanks to classes offered at the Refrigeration School Incorporated in Phoenix.
I don't know what it is, but something about the noises, the smells, getting dirty and gritty, and just making fires and grinding stuff. It's just, I love it.
Emily Donahue took on welding classes to improve her skills as an artist.
I felt more intimidated about my personal standpoint of learning it rather than being outnumbered gender-wise. So I've always been able to scrap it with the boys pretty well.
Schools like RSI have females in their programs who are taking part in HVAC and welding. Melissa Hayes worked in the health field before making a career change.
It just wasn't for me. So with welding, I mean, you still interact with people, but I just like to disappear underneath the hood and just, you know, put my work in that way.
Hayes says welding isn't just about the personal freedom, it offers her better income.
I have a son that I want to provide for, and this is very good earning potential.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average annual income of a welder is just more than $40,000. For some of the men at RSI, having women part of the team is an added bonus.
The women are really big on safety, and they'll take that extra step to do a job done right the first time, as opposed to taking a shortcut and trying to minimize the time it takes to do the job.
For Emily Donahue, being a woman is only one factor. She just wants to weld.
I'm kind of excited, more of a challenge than anything, to get out there and to be the minority in this field.
In Phoenix, Tanaya Williamson, Cronkite News.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, women currently make up just 9% of the construction field, which includes welding, cutting, and building. Less than 2 weeks after Hurricane Michael ravaged the Florida Panhandle, another hurricane is ramping up, this time in the Pacific.
Next on Cronkite News, how the strength of Hurricane Willa compares to the strength of Michael.
And it was quite the day for severe weather across the state yesterday, but now we're tracking more storm chances for the eastern half of the state. We'll dive into those details coming up in the full forecast.
I'm Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. The 2018 election season has arrived. Join us for primary and general election debates. Right here, meet the candidates and hear their positions. Arizona Horizon, your source for what matters most this election season. Only on Arizona PBS.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
Cronkite News, weeknights at 5 on Arizona PBS.
Yet another hurricane is gaining power in the Pacific Ocean, nearing the coast of Mexico.
Hurricane Willa could potentially be a catastrophic Category 5 storm after experiencing what the National Hurricane Center called explosive strengthening over the past 48 hours. Willa is currently on the track to be one of the strongest hurricanes to ever hit the Pacific coast of Mexico. The storm is expected to weaken slightly just before it makes landfall tomorrow afternoon.
As of this morning, Willa's maximum sustained winds reach 160 miles per hour. That makes Willa slightly more intense than Hurricane Michael, which devastated parts of Florida just less than 2 weeks ago.
Back here in Arizona, we experienced some severe weather of our own over the weekend.
Jordan Evans has the latest.
Yes, Ashton, we don't have hurricanes to track here in Arizona, but in fact, yesterday, this was a tornado that touched down just to the northwest of Winslow. That was up off the I-40 corridor. The National Weather Service did confirm this, in fact. Pretty neat rope-like structure up there. Not very common here in Arizona, and that's all because we've seen lots of severe weather across the state as we turn attention to radar. In fact, we're still tracking a couple cluster storms up in that area just off the Navajo land, as we can see a couple lightning strikes and some brief heavy downpours up there. In fact, you can even see that on our satellite imagery here. In fact, right just to the northwest of Flagstaff, and it's all because low pressure is bringing all this moisture up out of the Gulf of California, which is going to set the stages for more storm chances heading into tomorrow. So putting that into track on future casts, as we can see, Monday we'll keep things pretty clear here in the valley tonight. Clouds will increase through tomorrow morning, and then heading into tomorrow afternoon, this is where we'll really see those storm chances firing up off to the east around Safford, up to Show Low. A couple of those storms could be on the strong side and produce some large hail and reach strong winds, which is why the Storm Prediction Center does have this area outlooked under a marginal risk for severe weather. So keep that in mind if you are traveling off to the east tomorrow. But here in the valley, clouds are on the increase and temperatures in the 80s right now. And the highs across the state tomorrow are going to be down up into the 50s along the rim, and in Flagstaff, 62, and Payson, 66 degree in Prescott, I should say, for the valley, and areas out to the west will all be sitting in those upper 80s for tomorrow. So staying near average here in the valley, and that's going to be the case for the next 7 days as we stay in the 80s all the way through the weekend. In the Cronkite Weather Center, I'm Jordan Evans.
ASU football is in college football purgatory, not playing poor enough to warrant serious criticism, yet not good enough to be considered the threat in a conference. After this weekend's loss to Stanford, the Sun Devils have lost 4 of its last 5 games, all of them by just 7 points. At today's media briefing, head coach Herm Edwards said the Sun Devils aren't changing their plan quite yet.
Look, you guys have watched me coach 7 games. You see any panic in me? You won't. You just won't. I have a great view and vision of what we're trying to do here. And I think the players understand that, the coaching staff understands that, the administration understands that. We're all on the same page.
The Sun Devils look to pick up their first road win of the season on Saturday against the USC Trojans.
A local middle schooler thinks she may have an answer to the problem of food waste, an answer that could be as close as your phone.
Coming up on Cronkite News, we talked to her to see how her science project could soon be helping those in need.
If you're looking for one show that tells you what happened that day in the world of business, it's NBR.
We saw a classic shipwreck.
Nordstrom's opening stores.
Triple-digit gains.
Crude climbs.
We're there to help our audience find new investment ideas.
The market still has room to go up.
Nightly Business Report is the longest-running business television program in history.
Weeknights at 10:30 on Arizona PBS.
Officially from 36, and he hooks it in. Arizona State wins. Keeping one deep, and it is caught. Jalen Strong. Do you believe it?
I'm Matt Berry, ESPN Sports Center anchor and graduate of ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. With its bachelor's and master's degrees in sports journalism, the Cronkite School is preparing the next generation of sports journalists to tell stories that matter, stories that excite, inspire, and inform. Cronkite immerses students in covering sports at all levels in one of the country's top sports markets. It's this hands-on experience under the guidance of award-winning sports media veterans that shape the top journalists of tomorrow.
Some middle schoolers are taking their science projects to the next level, the national stage, that is. Our Cronkite News Washington Bureau reporter Ian Solomon caught up with one Valley 8th grader whose project is making waves in the nation's capital.
When Scottsdale middle schooler Akshaya Venkatesh saw how much food was being wasted after meals at her temple, she went looking for a solution. A solution she wants to put in the palm of our hand.
I thought I could incorporate an app and this food waste idea into one thing.
After attending a coding camp, that app became a reality. a pocket-sized solution to help communities across the world organize and distribute their leftover food items.
World hunger is a huge problem in the world right now. People don't realize what a big problem it is, and they just waste food. They just throw out food like it's nothing.
Akshaya's work landed her a spot as one of 30 finalists in the 2018 Broadcom Masters STEM competition, selected from more than 2,500 middle schoolers who applied. The finalists are here in the nation's capital presenting science, technology, engineering, and mathematics-focused projects that range from tennis ball sorters to solar-powered home ventilation systems.
We are really thrilled and proud of all of these young people who are trying to solve the world's most intractable problems.
While the competition emphasizes world impact, it's just as much about the students themselves.
You know, we hope as middle school students that events like this just give them the confidence to continue those passions into high school and beyond.
Akshaya plans to do just that.
Kids, they think that science fairs are stupid. Some kids think like, oh, how do you have time to do science fairs? If it can get you this far, like you should do it every year. And going from a school fair to coming here, I feel like it's kind of amazing.
The winners will be announced Tuesday night here in DC, with first place taking home $25,000. In Washington, Ian Solomon, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, we'll hear from both sides on Proposition 126, which would ban new taxes on services like getting your car fixed, and see how hobbies like curling can help seniors increase memory and brain power.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next NewsHour. The countdown to Election Day heats up, just 2 weeks away. That's Monday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Support for Arizona PBS comes from viewers like you and from
Yupa's Thai Kitchen in Tempe features fresh, authentic Thai cuisine and vegetarian Thai dishes served in a homeland-style decor atmosphere. Open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. Information at 480-839-0576.
Hospice of the Valley, a not-for-profit community hospice for patients nearing end of life and support for their families. HOV.org.
During World War II, 200,000 women were forced into sexual slavery by the Imperial Japanese Army. After decades of silence and shame, 3 survivors demand to be heard. The Apology.
tonight at 11:30 on Arizona PBS. Explore new ideas and new worlds here on Arizona PBS, a community service of Arizona State University.
If you are 60 or over, consider a charitable gift annuity with Arizona PBS. A charitable gift annuity will provide you a steady stream of income during your lifetime and also help ensure that Arizona PBS is available for future generations.